The reason it has a great deal to do with it is because it's a method, it's a way of also shifting responsibility and accountability. Let me give you a good example about this, and I think that most of you can probably relate to this. This past week, the Greenville County School District passed on first reading their budget. The headlines in the Greenville News on Monday morning was Greenville County School District limits spending for band programs and middle school sports in Greenville County. Whose phone started to ring because of an email that was sent out by one of the school board members blaming it on the legislature that night? My phone rang. I spent Monday night in a 2-hour meeting with parents about funding for band programs because the school district and the school board was blaming their priorities and their setting of their budget on the state legislature. That's why the system of accountability that we depend upon in home rule to be a check and balance on this doesn't work. Because it's too easy to take and shift the blame to the legislature and to the federal government for not adequately, or as explained, quote, not adequately funding education and local government in the state. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We talked about the issue of growth. Folks, I don't know of well, there's not. There's not a bigger county in the state than Greenville County. Population-wise, Greenville County is the biggest county in the state of South Carolina. Would you not agree? Look at the statistics. Growth-wise, Greenville County is in the top 3 consistently in growth in the state. Greenville County has lived under a self-imposed spending limitation just like this for years. Mr. Eric Bedingfield is sitting right here. He's been on Greenville County Council for 4 years prior to coming down here. He can attest. What this does is this is requiring you to take and to look at your funding, look at your priorities, decide what's important, what's not. Just like we do at home. We all have to sit down and take a look at our dollars and decide what we're going to spend money on, what monies we have, what is our priorities, and what we can't spend money on. Right now, that's a difficult situation in the Smith household because I've got 2 kids in graduate school. And their tuition payments are due right now. So that's a tough issue for us. We've got to set some priorities. We have to do that. The problem or the difference that you have between your family budget and the government budget is that we don't have as a family the ability to take and to pull in monies and to pull in revenue anytime we want to. We don't have all the same resources and the ability to take and go out and say, okay, I need another $1 million, so I'm going to raise business licenses. We can't do that in our own personal budgets. We can't do that as a family. Local governments and school districts can. And if we don't stand back and take a look at this issue and listen to the chief executive officers of this state, listen to the Chamber of Commerce, listen to the Manufacturers Alliance, listen to BIPEC, that are telling us, folks, you're putting us out of business, then our tax base is really going to start to deteriorate. And I'm telling you right now, we're starting to see some of that. It's starting to take place. I appreciate you again allowing me the opportunity to come and to speak with you this morning. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any questions from the subcommittee, Mr. Roland Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. You several things you mentioned that caught my attention. I'm going to ask questions on perhaps 1 or 2. One of those being you were speaking about the Greenville School District eliminating the band activities. Would you expand on that briefly?
Sure.
And the reason behind them doing it. And I'm not talking about what they said in the paper, I'm about what the real reason was.
What the real reason was is that they had set their priorities in their budgets. First reading of the budget, still 2 more readings of it to go. The real reason was because they decided to take and spend monies on other priorities. They decided to spend monies on virtual schools. They decided to spend monies on what is called a twilight program and things like that.
So basically, that was their priorities.
That's correct.
School districts.
That's correct.
Okay, in reading the legislation, there's one thing in that concerned me somewhat, and I discussed it with you yesterday. And
your name again was what?
And give you a little example. If a local area, county, local government, goes out to the public and they adopt a 1-cent sales tax, and they go through the process of listing those items that's going to be funded with that sales tax. So that they're pretty much obligated by law to follow that, what the public vote yes on. And from my understanding, the revenue is growing so fast in South Carolina. Those counties, speaking specifically of my county, Aiken, the sales tax money is coming in so fast that they're going to get the limit that's allowed by the referendum substantially sooner than anticipated. Therefore, if we include that option sales tax within that spending cap, that they'll have the money in hand, but it will not be able to spend the money. Basically, and so what I see is going to happen is the local people that have been promised their road will be paved or their project will be accomplished, they will not be able to do it. In other words, it will have to be delayed down through the years, and therefore the 1-cent sales tax perhaps may be eroded down the road. That's
Sure. Well, as we talked yesterday, and for those of you who may not be familiar with it, there are several provisions in the state statute that allow for local options on sales tax. There's the original local option sales tax would have provisions in there for property tax rollbacks. There's the capital improvement local option sales tax. This is the one that he is talking about here. Most municipalities and counties, when they have done this, have went out and issued bonds, which would then put that into the debt service category, which would not be affected under the Property Tax Relief Act. But the situation that you're talking about is somewhat different. They're using a pay-as-you-go sort of a system. So this would have an impact upon that. And I think that you're looking at the possibilities of an amendment that would take and pull that out of there, those capital project sorts of local option sales taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, Representative Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, Representative Smith.
Thank you.